So I've been asked in the last couple of days, weeks, I guess, to do a class in something. It started off with my sweet friend Tiffany and Natalie asking if I would do a class. It was entitled like "Staying Calm Using Essential Oils." And as I thought about that word, calm, like staying calm, keep calm and carry on from World War II, I thought, as much as I have studied the brain and studied humans, I'm a life coach, I'm a mom of a bunch of kids, but most importantly, where my credentials really lie is I was a hairdresser for 100 years. And I feel like that is the biggest credential in studying humans that anybody could ever have. And as I think about all the things that I studied with people, and I thought, anytime you've ever said, just calm down, remain calm, pretty much never in the history of ever has anybody been able to calm down just by telling them to calm down. So I was thinking about that and thought, okay, really what we need to learn and figure out is how to thrive. Because calm is really relative, isn't it? Thriving is also relative, but it's something we can all latch onto. And we can say, yeah, I would like to thrive in this situation. And my thriving looks a lot different than Pamela's thriving. It's so individual, and yet it has a similar frequency. If you have somebody who is already more hyper by nature and you say calm down, for them, just not talking is calm, but internally there could be some sort of storm brewing, and vice versa. So thriving in a crisis, I'm just going to just say what it is. I'm not going to pretend that there's something not going on in our culture. When this all first happened, the COVID, my ally has taught me that's actually, we're supposed to call it COVID. I'm like, so does it mean you're cool if you call it COVID-19? Or are the cool kids calling Corona? She's like, well, it's actually two different things. So we'll just, the pandemic, how about we just agree on that? So we'll discuss that tonight, because it's relevant, it's trending, it's whatever you want to call it. Yet everything that I share with you here, first things to write down. Number one, this is a tool that I'm giving you. This is going to be a current tool for you. It'll be a tool for you in the future if you ever go through anything that is crisis in nature. And it's also going to be a tool, which is my biggest reason why I'm doing this class. Sarah, Pamela, my mom Janice, and Allie, you guys, and Sherry, you all know, I'm always saying, use this tool to help others. This is the missing piece to every business class, every psychologist couch, everything. What I'm going to share with you, it's just a snippet of what we discussed for 6 weeks in our course. But please share this with others. There are people who need to know how to thrive. And you guys have the answer, and you will have even more of an answer when we're done tonight. So we talk about thriving in a crisis, the current crisis being this pandemic in our culture, in our world. This is more than, an isolated event, how we've had things in America or things in another country. This is a global thing. But when we break it down, if you can really step back, step away, and ask, why does this feel like a crisis? There's two reasons. Number one, you're dealing with people's checkbooks, money, finances. This is hard. When you mess with that, it gets people a little nutso. The second, and I personally believe the biggest, is the fear of the unknown. That will mess with humans more than anything, because we can all create stories in our head that are complete, like a sack of crazy cats. And many of it is just not true. But left to our own devices, if we don't understand how to think, and when we're so dependent on what to think, like someone telling you what to think, and you're really struggling with how to think, that fear of the unknown can get so big and so large, now you don't know what to do. So those are the things we're going to address. And here's the deal. In order to thrive in a crisis, you have to give yourself permission to grieve. You have to give yourself permission to grieve. When all of this first started, I did what I do best, and I started people watching. I watched everybody, put up the funny memes. What stage of quarantine are you at? I mean, we still have those things going on. And then there's others who are like, make the most of your time. Okay, everybody, we can do this. And all these like blow sunshine up where the sun doesn't actually shine. And all of these quippy platitudes, which mean absolutely nothing if you are grieving. And in our world, we qualify grief and trauma. We qualify it. We say, well, it's not that big a deal. You just have to stay home for however many, I don't know. I don't even know if there's there's a time. Let's say 40 days. You have to stay home. That's not that big a deal. At least you have, and then you guys can all list it off with me. At least you have your health. At least you have a house. At least. And then if you are feeling sad, if somebody's pointing their finger saying, well, at least you should be grateful, you whatever. Now you feel like crap because you feel sad, but the whole world, or what you feel like is the whole world telling you, you have no right to be sad. That's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable and really inhuman. My husband's here and I told him to be quiet. And he said, if you engage me, I can't be quiet, but I have to. Was that right? Inhuman, unhuman? Which one was it? Yeah. Inhuman. See, he's going to be my grammar police. Inhuman. You have to acknowledge the hard. If you feel sad, acknowledge it. If you're angry, okay, acknowledge it. We do this, don't we? We give each other a certain amount of time to grieve the death of a loved one, the death of a beloved pet. And then we say, okay, time for you to move along. Guess what? You, the other person, saying time for you to move along, it's not your job. That's between that person and really God, not between anybody. And so in a world of social media, and we all look to, not me, frankly, and I hope none of you guys, but we tend to, in our society, look to social media, we look to the media, the news, the whatever, to tell us how to think, tell us how to feel. And when we have something go on in our world that takes away maybe our financial security, and or our ability to plan for the future, or have our future events completely ripped out from under us, things that we were really looking forward to, now we feel a ways, a negative a ways. So let yourself feel that. For as long as you need to, this is all you. I'm sharing with you for you individually, not you as a collective. There are 10 of us on here right now. We all 10 have very different belief systems. So thriving for us individually is going to look very different. Just by definition of we have 10 different people here. How do you walk through the grieving process? Because I want you to hear my words and know that yes, you need to grieve. But there is a time where you will know, okay, it's time for me to move forward. You will know that. So while you're walking through the grief process, let's say in a crisis, there's some steps to take. And then we'll get to the good stuff, the thriving. Now, my husband and I have had, besides like our own stuff, marriage-wise and business-wise and money-wise, we've had some hard things with our children. Most of you guys know our oldest son had cancer 10 years ago. Our littlest girl was born with her organs outside of her body. And so we had 6 months of a pregnancy of just what I thought was just terrifying. Somewhere along the way, before all of that, we lost a baby when I was 5 months pregnant. So we've had crisis. We've had varying degrees of crisis. We've had financial crisis. We've had job loss. We've had rebellion with our children. We've had crisis. And along the way, as I have grown in my emotional healing, it's like I was talking to Allie and I said, if I could go back to my person then and tell me something, and I would tell me this, and this is the start of the grieving process. Are you ready? I hope you have your pens and paper. Pause. This is like the no duh of the century, but please pause. There is power in a pause. When I found out that Zion had cancer, I immediately went into, we're going to fix this mode. We've got to figure this out. And the reason why I acted so quickly is because I was terrified. I didn't know what was going to happen. Again, we enter into the fear of the unknown. I didn't know if he was terminal. I didn't know. They just told me my son had this crazy stage cancer and it was rare and it was going to be really bad and on and on. And I'm like, how bad? All the questions. Fear of the unknown. What I would go back and tell myself, my 10-year younger self, is you drop to your knees and you pause. And for me, I pray. I would have written out all the fears that I had. I would have brain dumped, which is basically just writing everything down, just getting it out on paper so that I could think clearly. I would have paused. Pausing in the middle of a crisis is what we call trigger mastery. Just side note, as we walk through this time tonight, and as you walk through crisis and you're thriving in it, remember to keep the end in mind. The way that you know that you are thriving in a crisis, or that you have thrived in a crisis and you're coming out on the other side amazing, is that when you speak about the crisis, it holds literally no charge to you. Meaning you don't feel it in your chest, you don't feel it in your belly, your palms don't sweat, you don't feel like, oh, this was so hard, this is the worst thing. To use the pandemic of 2020, my hope and prayer for every single one of you, and the 10 people that each of you are going to share this with, is that all of us collectively go, yeah, 2020, that pandemic, what? It was actually an amazing time. I was so grateful for, and we can tick off all of these things. Forget I wrote a book, I started a podcast, this just the amazingness of the time. That's how you know you have thrived in this time. To use the cancer time with our son, I can now look back, there was a time I just felt bitter and angry and pissed that my kid had to get cancer and all these other people could go care about their stupid drapes or whatever, or their decorating in their house. There was a time I was super bitter about it. Now I'm so grateful for that time. I can tell you, I'm so grateful. Our family is so much better. We eat better. We love each other better. I have written a class and a book about healing from trauma because of that time. All the people I get to help see, so it goes on and on and on and on. I didn't thrive during that time. For me, I thrived from that time. My hope is that you guys do it in this time. In this time. So you pause. Pausing gives you a moment to collect yourself. It gives you moments to collect yourself. In our time right now, the one thing that if I could have gotten on a virtual platform megaphone and shouted it from the rooftops, every parent that had to start homeschooling, and everybody went into panic mode. Oh my God, how am I going to do this? And they frantic and did the things. And I'm like, oh, whoa, pump the brakes, pause. Everybody. I can assure you, take it from a mom who's gotten a kid into college. It's not that big a deal. If you pause and breathe and collect yourself and go, okay, everybody, what are we looking at here? What does this mean? What does this mean and what doesn't this mean? So number one is pausing. Number two, breathing. Breathing through the grieving time, breathing through the process. Whatever your crisis is, breathe. My good friend Maribel, she is an expert at breath work. If you ever get the privilege to walk through any of her classes, your life will be forever better. I highly recommend you reach out and find her on social media. Her name is Maribel O'Brien, Lighthearted Yoga. But she's an expert at breath work, and she has taught me and all the rest of us in Essentially Free to breathe correctly all the way from our belly. And can I tell you, when you do that, your eyes seem clear because you've got oxygen in your brain. Even right now, catch yourself. Put your hand on your chest. Where's your breath coming from? Is it coming from your belly, way down below, or is it coming from up here? Her name is Maribel O'Brien. You know what? Thank you guys for asking the question. Let me type it in the chat here. So funny. I didn't tell her I was going to give her a shout out. When you message her, just be like, look, Jen. Oh, thanks, Sally. I love it that you're on here. But yeah, just give her a little heads up. She's fabulous. Fabulous. Yes. But you breathe. And most of us do this shallow breathing. And when we are in crisis mode, you're welcome, Patty. When we're in crisis mode, or when we get some hard news, or we're just like starting to, we have to make decisions, all of a sudden we shallow breathe. And the reason why we do this, I'm such a nut for biology, is because it's our adrenaline starting to pump, because our body and our brain thinks that we have to start running. We have to get out of there. We think we're in danger. So we start breathing, shallow breathing from up here. When my husband will tell you, he's a runner, he's coached me in running, that really that shallow breathing, right? It's not helpful? No, he says no. So when we're running, when you have to run for your life, even if you could collect yourself and start breathing from below, you'll run better, you'll run longer. But in a crisis situation, a perceived crisis, an external situation happening, we don't need to run anywhere. So thus we don't need to breathe shallow at all, ever. But we can take the time and we can breathe a count of 4. And you would just close your eyes and you would pause and you would breathe in 2, 3, 4. And I love, Maribel will make us hold it just for a little sip of air. And then exhale, like push it all the way out. And when you breathe deeply like that, yes, Patty, I was just about to say, we're totally on the same wavelength. You suppress unnecessary cortisol. Young Living has a supplement called Cortistop. You guys might want to check that out. Especially if you've been a shallow breather, you've had chronic stress in your life, and you don't deal with it. You're going to need some Cortistop. A couple bottles, if you want my opinion. While everybody's like hoarding all the thieves and stuff, you get you some Cortistop. You'll be great. Good to go. When you breathe deeply, you're oxygenating your brain and your cells, you're suppressing that cortisol, and you're releasing serotonin, the feel-good hormones. So that even if you are in a situation that is really hard, and it's traumatic, and it's a crisis, you're oxygenating your brain, you're pausing. And now you can collect yourself and you can think clearly. The third step in mastering your triggers is grounding. And see, this is why I ask, please, only essential oil users. This little Sunday night classes was not meant to be a, hey, this is a great time to jump on board with essential oils, because I want to dig deep. Our oils are so precious, and just a little pause on that. Guys, make sure you're sharing oils with people who really want them. Don't be so desperate to share your essential oils that you'll take any Tom, Dick, and Harry to sign up with you. These oils, these are precious, valuable tools. Nothing grieves me more than to hear that somebody, oh, I signed up with Young Living. Yeah, I have a bunch of those on the shelves. I'm like, how much for them? Let me take them off your hands. These are precious tools. These are medicine. Please understand that. So we ground. Young Living happens to have an oil called grounding, right? But not all of us necessarily use grounding or have it, right? Before grounding came back, before I was able to get it, I would use something like cedar wood. I would use frankincense. A lot of the tree oils are so grounding. Think about it with me for a moment, will you? You think about any fir, any tree is so rooted into the ground, so just gripping the earth. Well, guess what? When we distill that, we have all of that frequency, all of that strength, and all of that power on us. And so when we use an oil on the bottoms of our feet, maybe we breathe it in and we put it here, our forehead and back of the neck, and we just stop for a moment and we spatulate our little toes. You guys don't have a good grounding practice. I really recommend it. For those of you, all my friends who live in such warm Texas, or what did I hear today in California? It's like summer. Get outside, because we were on the beach yesterday and people were like, wow, you don't have shoes on. I'm like, I got to get my feet in the sand. I mean, it was 50. It feels like summer. Summer's here, guys. But in any case, get a good grounding practice. Get outside. When you put your feet on the ground, you are energetically connecting yourself to the earth. There is so much rich frequency, so much good frequency when you can put your toes in the dirt, your toes in the grass. And if you can't, for my precious friends in Minnesota, Pamela, wherever you can, even if you just have it just on the floor in your house, you are still grounding. You're not separating your shoes, right? You don't have that rubber or whatever leather, whatever shoes are made out of, but it's just your feet on the floor. It's so good. It allows you to be more present. We talk about this in my class, and I'll share this with you. This really has nothing to do with thriving in a crisis, but more of like when you're triggered, right? So you pause and you breathe. And then the grounding practice is so key, because really, let's say you're in a situation with another person and you're being triggered. Having a good grounding practice, just even mentally putting your feet on the floor. But right now, both of my feet are flat on the floor. I have socks on, but I have a wood floor, right? And so I would keep my feet just firmly on the ground and I'm breathing. It keeps me steady. When you are being triggered by something or someone, if you are not consciously fixing yourself in a firm place, you can be toppled over, almost like you're on a trampoline or you're standing on one foot. It's a great visual practice for yourself and for your mind to have your feet sort of hip width distance apart and just sitting yourself there. Most of you know I have a bulldog, and I'm shocked that he's not sitting right here joining us for our class. He must be getting snuggles from somebody else. Yep. But my bulldog is a disaster when I take him for a walk. He's an absolute mess. I love him so much. But I'm like, I'm sorry, Roman, you can never go with us for a walk, except for maybe once a month I sucker in, and I'm like, okay, fine. But there'll be times when he's just like, he is grounded. He is not moving. He's not going to do it. Just won't. There's other times where he is pulling so hard at his harness that he has to go this way. He is feet in the ground, in the dirt, just grounded. Pamela, do your Frenchies do the same? It must be a bulldog thing. But I think of that when I think about being grounded, like just so stationary that nothing can move you. Nothing. So as you're practicing, you're working through thriving in crisis, thriving through trauma, however it is, thriving in your current situation. Oh, sorry, Janice, you were asking, do you get any grounding if walking barefoot in your house. According to, that's safe, the Maribel. Maribel has shared with me that yes, at least having your bare feet off in your house, even on concrete, right? I see Pamela, you're shaking your head, yes? Yeah, so just having that more, just being able to have your toes touch something other than your socks and your shoes, even that, still getting that vibration from the foundation. Yeah, oh, that's right, they are all actually grounded. That's true, good point. Okay, as we're walking through the grief process and acknowledging how hard your situation is, remember this: your heart is your heart, mine is mine. Mine is mine. It would be completely unfair if I looked at everybody that had to homeschool and I'd be like, what's the big deal? I've been homeschooling for how many years? 11 years? I don't know. It's been so long I don't even remember how long. How unfair. I've been doing it all this time and yet I'd be super critical. But like, that's not hard. Because it wasn't hard for me when I first started homeschooling. You know why? Because I wanted to. But if you all of a sudden now are working from home and you're homeschooling, that's, for you, that might be hard. Nobody gets to tell you what's hard or what's not hard. It's your hard. When you are ready, you'll know. The self-help section, my son brought this up today, the self-help section in any bookstore or library is so riddled with books. He says, you know, Mom, it gives me hope. There's people out there who do want to change. That's humans. We all want to grow and get better. My point in sharing that is with you is that if you let yourself acknowledge the hard, work through the grief, process it, breathe through it, journal about it, brain dump. As Ali said earlier, have a gratitude journal. When you start being able to fill in your gratitudes and you're not brain dumping as much of the negative, now you realize I might be ready to move forward and move through this. Also, and this is free, quit saying, I'm going to get over this. There's no such thing. Think about it with me. If you get over something, let's say it's an obstacle, guess what? It's still there. But if you tell yourself, I'm going to move through this, imagine yourself with like a pickaxe, chipping through little by little, bit by bit, like a tunnel. It's still there, but you see this gorgeous big hole that you carved in the heart. You went through the obstacle, and imagine if you physically did that, how your muscles would be, how strong you would be. It's such a cool image versus just getting over something. Because getting over is a whole lot like stuffing it and just not even acknowledging it. And here's why you don't want to stuff what you want to acknowledge, because one day it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. I can assure you. We call that triggers. The people who are not handling this situation, not acknowledging the pandemic, the crisis that they're in, they will be triggered. I live in a whole city that's had a lot of trauma, from Catholic priests molesting a whole bunch of kids to a bombing to 9/11. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's happened in this city, and it shows. And now they're walking through this, and it shows. Trust me, you want to walk through this. You want to acknowledge it. When we think about grounding, one of the things that is so key is to see, are you snacking a lot? This will be your barometer on how much you need to ground. I see all those memes about people, well, they're eating a lot now, or they're eating junk food. Some are like, oh, I'm on vacation or whatever, but some are just eating more. And they don't even understand why they're eating more or why they're eating the foods they're eating. And they may be chastising themselves like, oh, I shouldn't be eating this, like that. Did you know that animals, when they are threatened, they won't eat? We have 4 dogs, and we have a strategic place on how we feed everybody. And when we feed Penny, our German pointer, like with Dwight, the boxer lab, she won't eat. And he's like, Mom, Penny's not eating again. And I said, it's because you're feeding her with Dwight. She has to be in the mudroom. That's her space. It's safe. And even then, she kind of eats and she kind of keeps looking around. But the most incredible thing about humans, why we are different than our dogs, is because we have the ability to use our will, our imagination. We can use our ability to reason, our perception, can use our minds. So we can talk ourselves into feeling safe. You know how? Ta-da! You guessed it, by eating, by snacking. So when you, let's say, want to shed a couple of pounds, work on your fitness goal, instead of chastising yourself for eating, ask yourself, what am I being triggered by? Right now, everybody is eating a lot because they feel unsafe. The media, the president, everybody is telling us how unsafe we are. So we're eating more because we're trying to ground. If you are more intuitive, which I suspect many of you are if you're on this call tonight, or if you're watching later because you're interested, chances are your intuition is kicking in, your empathic self is on high alert, and now you're grounding. You're needing some nuts, you're needing breads, you're needing something that is heavy and weighty to pull you to the earth. Is that making sense to you guys? So rather than be frustrated that you're snacking, before you reach for that whatever, yeah, Pamela, eating better, choosing better is so helpful. Being able to say, okay, I'm reaching for this snack. Not even asking yourself, am I hungry? Am I being triggered? What is the trigger? And you can follow the train of thought and even grab your journal and your brain dumping and start brain dumping it out. Use your oils. And all of a sudden, you probably forget about the fact that you were going to snack and now you've done some emotion work. It doesn't take very long. It's really cool. Maybe even grab some Ningxia Red, right? Have a couple, like a drop of cinnamon bark in it, maybe some acatea. That'll help for the hunger, like if you're really feeling hungry, but just sip on that as you're journaling, as you're brain dumping and asking the questions, breathing in your oils, pausing, letting your mind search for the answer. Once you decide, okay, I've acknowledged the grief, I know that I'm struggling, I'm ready to move forward though. Let's dive in. First of all, I have to share with you the 3 types of essential oil users. Okay, ready? This is going to be good because some of you are going to be in one of these categories. We're going to categorize everybody tonight. And this is why I said a while ago, stop sharing your oils with every single person who has sniffs and is like, oh, I might be interested in oils. Almost like go through an interview process with them. Are you worthy of my oils? You know, Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. I don't mean to be rude. However, here's the thing, precious tools. These are so dang precious. How many of you guys have ever had somebody say, oh yeah, I don't know, what's an oil that's out of stock? Oh my gosh, have I ever heard somebody say like they had Egyptian gold? I don't know, it's just sitting on my shelf. I'd be going, okay, how much do you want? I'll give you one of my children. I mean, not really, but maybe, right? Egyptian gold, come on. Because we know how powerful they are. So here we go. The first person is they smell our lavender and they're like this. Yeah, that's nice. I like it. Mm-hmm. Or they do this. Okay, I'm ready. After doing not years, I guess 3 years of emotional work, I think when I see people slap oils, I'm like, oh, baby girl, I need it. Hold on. Let's start that. Let's try that again. Now, this is how we do it. We apply our oils. We experience it. This is the second person. This is the me. Hopefully this is all of you. You put it on. You activate it. You breathe it in. You experience it. You might even close your eyes. I have lavender, by the way. If anyone wants to experience it with me, we'll get a little synergistic here. We breathe it in and we think, what did I just think of? How do I feel? Where do I want those molecules directed to? We inhale it, we experience it, we breathe it from our bellies. We're not using our oils in a utilitarian fashion to sleep, for the occasional tummy ache or headache. We understand that these are gifts. These are medicine. At the risk of sounding non-compliant, I don't particularly care, actually. Because spinach is medicine, yeah? And so we experience it. And if you are brain dumping, if you are journaling, if you are even simply using a gratitude journal, breathe in your lavender, take your frankincense out. Oh my word. When you are doing a gratitude journal, frankincense, that's your best friend. And you experience it. And you start to just let the molecules get into every cell. I was sharing a class for Kathy the other night, and we were laughing, just saying, I can't remember the number of times it can hit all of your molecules, and we're like, it's at least 2 times per cell, right? So imagine your frankincense, that little drop hitting every one of your cells at least 2 times. I know it's in the thousands, right? And then we ask the question, what am I grateful for today? And let the oils bring forth the answer. We'll get to why that works in a moment. And there's a third person. And I think we've all been this third person at some time, and we still are, depending on the oil. But this is the person that maybe it's lavender. Lavender is such a universal oil. And we share it with somebody, we help them experience it, right? We breathe it in together, or we are trying to experience it. We're like, you know what? I am so turned off by that, like so put off by that oil. And you might even feel bad and think, I'm sorry, I don't like that oil. That's okay. The one thing that we never want to do with ourselves or somebody else is say, well, that means that you need it. Here, use it. Come on. I mean, why don't we just trigger them some more? We don't want our oils to ever be a trigger for somebody. We want them to be sweet and as precious to them as they are to us. Or we want this oil someday to be as precious to us as maybe frankincense or Egyptian gold. So we know, for those of us who have used oils for a couple of years, maybe even a year, we know we have these beautiful resource tools, right? Maybe not everybody has a giant desk reference, but that we have the pocket, we have something. And let's say we need something for sleep. And so we're like, yeah, but lavender, I just don't like it. Okay, there's a whole bunch of other oils that might support a good night's sleep. That will, I should say. So we look into that. And we put a little note and say, you know what, lavender wasn't my friend. Let's dive into that, the reason why, when we're ready. I can tell you one of the most eye-opening things for me is when I learned that lavender helps uproot and get rid of abandonment issues. I was like, oh, bing, ding, bing, got it. Yep, no, now I know why. Well, that was easy. We work on that. I love lavender now. Simple. The reason why our oils are so powerful is because they work so well on the limbic system. Our memories and our emotions can only be unlocked through our sense of smell. There was a time super recently, even up until super recently, where I would say, yeah, the work that I do, the coaching that I do, I can totally do it without oils. I was so delusional. I can't. I just can't. And I don't think anybody really can get healed emotionally without applying the oils to the process. And this is the reason, because the oils will unlock those memories. And they can help you remove and release negative memories and emotions. And because of the sesquiterpenes and the monoterpenes and the phenols and all of that, the constituents that we have in our oils, they can help rewrite the thought patterns in your mind and help you now put in positive memories and emotions. I'm 100% convinced of that. I've worked with people way too long to not believe otherwise. And I've had friends who share with me and that they've gone to counseling, and even the therapists are like, wait, what are you learning? And they don't use oils, let's say. I'm working with a woman at a it's not crisis pregnancy center now. It's something like that on either side, whatever people choose, but they're there to help women, whether it's after, whatever. I don't want to get into the details. But in any case, as I shared with her, yeah, whatever a woman chooses, it's all traumatic. And she fully agreed. And they want women to just simply survive and just get by. And I'm like, oh, friend, they can thrive, but they need to be able to rewrite their brain. They need to be able to unlock those negative thought patterns and emotions. And they can only do that with our oils. I mean, that's just that. When we feel anxious, our lavender can soothe the nervous system. The system that's doing this and creating all this noise, our lavender can quiet it down. Our cedar wood can help support the body's natural production of melatonin. And so now we can feel more peaceful, more sleepy. Now we're able to drop off to sleep at night because it quiets the brain and it's helping the production. See how this works. Our bodies were designed to work in perfect harmony. It's always trying to get back to that homeostasis place, that place of perfection. This is why if you have a headache, it's just a symptom of something else going on in your body. The headache is a trigger. It should tell you you're either thirsty, you're hungry, your hormones are out of whack, maybe you have tension. I'm trying to think of the others. Maybe you have a gut issue, your belly isn't working properly, but there's something going on and the body is signaling, hey, something's out of balance, so let's get us back into balance. That's what that is. In order to thrive, we need to understand where we're thriving from. We need to have a good practice of how to master the triggers. We also need to understand that our oils need to be in our back pocket all the time. All the time. This is the time. I can't think of a better crisis to be in to get more emotionally healthy, which sounds so strange. But if you choose, once you acknowledge that this is hard, the grief process and all of this, and you say, yeah, I'd like to thrive in this time. Let's take some time and dive into any previous emotional challenges that you have. And here's what I know, is that you don't have to have a change in your outside circumstance to think differently about your current circumstance. Ask yourself this question: what are you dwelling on every day? I mentioned that I think, this is just the world according to Jen Weir, I think the biggest challenge in this time, in this pandemic in 2020 for people is fear of the unknown. One of my favorite movies, if you choose to watch movies right now, can I highly recommend Where'd You Go, Bernadette? If you haven't seen this movie, it's fantastic. I watched it 3 times. I loved it so much I made my family watch it, and I'm just rapt with interest every time I watch it. And one of the things that she says in there is that when she's not creative, she becomes a menace to society. I would add to Dear Bernadette is that when we don't have something occupying our brain, we become a menace to ourselves. When there's too many unknown variables, we become a menace to ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, when this pandemic first started, there was like the virus, and then there was this one conspiracy. And I'm watching, and all of a sudden this conspiracy went this way, and then this one went this way, and I get inbox messages all the time. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? It's this. I'm going, wow, okay. And none of it matches, but everybody's right. Does that make sense? Everybody's right. And I have to sit back and go, for me, my truth is there's a creator in heaven that created all of this, and it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. He knows. That's my truth. That's what I know. So when I go to the fear of the unknown, I don't know who on this planet is right, but what I do know is that. So on just a not spiritual plane, but on just a practical everyday, if you are struggling with the fear of the unknown, and maybe your inbox is being flooded with every prophecy, every conspiracy, everything that everybody says is true, which I'm like, I'm not sure how the 10 things I got sent to me were all true, but okay, we'll see. What do you know? Let's start with basics. What day is it? That was a funny thing for the first 2 weeks. Every other post on social media was like, how many of you don't know what day it is? Do you know what day it is? Cool. So make a list of things that you do know. What day is it? If you don't know, I'm laughing, Patty had to think about it. Great. Then make it, just for Patty and anybody else, make it your goal every day. Today is Sunday, April 26th. What time is it? What month is it? What season? Start listing off what you do know. Because I'm telling you, this may sound so elementary, but I can assure you these little things add up to great big chunks of knowns. All of a sudden, the one little thing, you know what we really don't know? All we really don't know is when whatever is happening is not going to be happening anymore. That is such a small snippet to our everyday life. It truly, truly is. I'm going to speak some truth into you guys. Just to be a little maybe off color. Does everybody remember a year ago when everyone was freaking out about measles? Probably not, because now we have this to think about. My point is that there's always something really big. This is just global. So if we start thinking of a bunch of little knowns, all of a sudden our little knowns become like this on the paper, and all we don't know is, I don't know what's going to happen after that. That's so small. Remember, I'm telling you this because I'm assuming you have all, at this point, this is all information for later, but we've walked through the grief process, we've acknowledged the hard, we've walked through it, we're now grounded, we're ready to speak some truth. We're ready to say, what do we know? What do we know? We can think anything we want to think. We have that incredible privilege. Viktor Frankl, one of the people, the survivors of the Holocaust, he said, they could do whatever they want to me, torture, all the things that went on in that, but they couldn't make me think anything I didn't want to think. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter what conspiracy, prophecy, word is true, no one can make you think anything you don't want to think. Nobody. Only you get to choose what goes in your mind and what stays there. I had a slight disagreement with someone, and she doesn't understand this process, and was triggered by my response as she sent me a stat. Our city happens to have the highest cases and the highest numbers of deaths, which I'm like, whatever, I don't really, I probably could have said it nicer, which now I know, but I just I don't see any of that as true. That's just what I say. I see no truth in that. but I don't want to see truth in it. There's no benefit. That's me. None of you all can come up with all your stats and all your, but Jen, you need to, I will say, I'm sorry, I see no truth in that. I don't need to see truth in that because I only want to dwell on what is truth for me, what is lovely, what is good, what is excellent, what is worthy of praise. That is all I want to think about. And maybe the occasional silly bulldog trying to have me take him for a walk. That's fun for me. That's thriving. The other thing you can do is you start to go, fear of the unknown, financial, I don't know what my financial future, whatever. Okay, great. We are in such an incredible time. We are in such an incredible time. Again, let's go back to our oils. What oils do you use that help you feel grounded, that help you feel prosperous? Patchouli is one of those that for millennia, I shouldn't say that, decades, maybe even hundreds of years, I'll just say that, where people would use it to increase their finances. It's a prosperity oil. This is long before prosperity gospel, friends. This is like people would use that in orange to draw the, how do you say it? Like not the law of attraction, but that frequency for wealth, orange and patchouli. Listen, if you're feeling a little broke because of this pandemic, diffuse some patchouli and orange. Lord knows we have so much patchouli that we have been gifted by Young Living because they're so generous. And orange, a little vitality is like $6, right? Put that on your ER this month and go nuts with it. And as you're diffusing it, as you're experiencing it, just ask yourself, I'm looking for ways to earn some extra money. I'm looking for ways. Just ask the question. Say an affirmation of prosperity and wealth. Again, nobody can make you think anything you don't want to think. Even if you just breathe in your oils, I am prospering at every turn. I love Joyce Myers. Decades ago, I heard her say, who cares if I'm believing for $1 million and I don't get it? Wasn't I happier believing for it than if I wasn't? And isn't that what we're trying to do? We're trying to thrive. Here's the thing, when we're believing for good things and we're breathing in our oils and we're reshaping our neural pathways in our brain, we'll get a little sciencey, right? When we're doing this, we're releasing all the serotonin and all the endorphins. And now we're thriving and we're prospering. And here's the deal, happy people thrive and prosper. They just do. People who have an abundance of endorphins and serotonins just can't help but prosper. Yeah, Patty, she mentions that orange and patchouli are in the abundance blend. Yes. Yep, they sure are. Allie and I'm sure she won't mind if I share, but we, in our house, we had so much patchouli. I'm like, let's do a patchouli test. I think it was February, right, Allie, wasn't it? And we just, February. And we just bought a lot of patchouli just to see what would happen. And when we were aware, all these little abundance opportunities came our way. Now, did those opportunities come because of patchouli or not? For us, we tell you it was because of the patchouli. Maybe it was just because we were so aware of it. It doesn't matter. The point is, it triggered the thought. When we use our patchouli and breathe it in, we're like, bringing in the abundance. And all of a sudden, we would see all these little things. You know what it helped us not do? It helped us not look at the ways we weren't prospering. See how that works? We tell ourselves the truth in advance. Your current circumstances do not have to change in order for you to think in a different way. As you all work to thrive in this time, be sure that you are using your oils. Be sure that you have an excellent oil routine in place. Again, now is the time to do so. Everybody can take 5 to 10 minutes extra a day and apply their oils. It doesn't even take that long, right? But when you're experiencing it, maybe you're going to take probably about 5 minutes, maybe not a full 10. Have your oils you want to start your day with by your bedside or where you brush your teeth. Joy over the heart, white angelica. A side note, actually, let me just give you this little free tip too. Juniper. Before white angelica, there was juniper. I don't know how many of you guys love juniper like I do, but juniper is one of those when white angelica was out of stock for a long time. For those of you who've been around Young Living for a while, you remember the days, the dark days of no Valor and no white angelica, right? We're like, talk about trigger release. Juniper. Juniper has been used for centuries to ward off evil spirits. Juniper berries were tied to homes as a symbol of protection from anything negative. Try it. Experience your oils. Play around with it. Yeah, right, Patty? It's a beautiful oil. It's one that we don't often use, but we sure get it. And here's the other thing. If you were to go back, and I don't talk to Young Living corporate, so don't like go quote me, Jen said Young Living does this. I don't know, but I just have to think again from my unofficial years of people watching. I look and see what Young Living gives us for free, right, in our essential rewards order. And I have to ask myself, why? I thought I was super cool and thinking in March, oh, they're going to give us thieves cleaner, and they're going to give us this, and was it March? Yeah, and they didn't. I was like, oh, they outsmarted me because like every March they do that, but they gave us something different. I'm blanking on what it was. But go back over the last 12 months. Look and see what you got for free. Play around with that. Look up the emotional benefits of those oils. Guys, all this research that I have, it can be totally yours in your lap too. I'm not like extra smart. I don't have this like sixth set. Well, maybe I do have a little, okay, maybe, but not about oils. It's really more about my children. I've got all my tools. Use what you have. There's a reason why they're giving us, what is it this month? Eucalyptus? Tea tree? I'm trying to think. What else is it right now? It doesn't matter. Anyway, so much beauty in the oils that we have. Use what you have. Clove and lemon. Listen, where's my book? Oh, it's at my bedside. My mom just got me this great new book. It's a medical, I shouldn't have even mentioned it because I can't remember. It's medical something essential oils, right? No, it's fine, honey. Anyway, and I'm reading about it, and I'm just going to tell you this. You guys need to look up clove. Oh, Pam, look at you. Everyone, look at my dear friend Pam. That's the book. So Pam, if you have already read it cover to cover like I'm working to, clove, right? Clove and lemon. Thank you, Pamela and Sherry. And the dryer balls. Yes, all of these things. But if you all look up the benefits, the emotional benefits and the physical benefits of clove and lemon, you'll be like, it's like Young Living knows. Talk about a sixth sense. Yes, Kathy, we got Valor last month instead of the thieves home, the household cleaner. For sure take that any day of the week. And on that note with Valor, and then I promise I'll let you all go. When you're using Valor, please experience your Valor. A drop on each wrist. Kathy, you're so sweet. We can hang out all night if you want. A drop on your wrist. I don't have my Valor here. That is surprising. So let me do it with, you know what, I'll do it with my stress weight. I feel like I have to demo. Pretend this is Valor, right? So we have it here. on your wrists. And the reason why we're doing this, everyone, is because if you are experiencing your oils, your feet are flat on the floor. Oh, that smells so good. And we're experiencing, and this works with Valor. It's meant to balance you. And you can, with Valor, feel your pulse, right, coming through on your wrists. When you do that with your Valor and you feel it, now you know you are energetically balanced. And the other thing is it helps make you pause. It helps to still you. This is an incredible practice to do with little ones. I have a lot of people that will ask, how do I work with my children? Or how do I help my children emotionally release? This is a great place to start. A little Valor on the wrist. Get them really concentrating, really focused in. Can you feel it? Can you feel the pulse? That's balance. Put a few drops over your shoulders and just let it sit in. A couple of drops up your spine and down your back, and just let it roll over you. We got it for free last month. Be generous with yourself. I shared in my oil usage group, and then in our year-long, essentially free group, our little cluster, the word opulence. And so many people I know take their rose and they're like the first person right there, just sniff it from the cap. I don't ever want to use it. And I think, my word, Gary Young carried it in his pocket. I mean, I know he got a discount being the owner and all, but come on. How many of us would be so generous as to put 2 or 3 drops in the diffuser, maybe 4 or 5? Can you imagine raising the frequency of your entire home because you chose to be opulent and generous with yourself? Guys, our oils are not meant to hoard. They're meant to be used. They're meant to be shared. I know they're precious and I know they're costly. That should make us want to use them even more. They're so fantastic. I could talk about essential oils all day long and the amazing benefits, particularly with emotions, but I'll leave it at that. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have. If you have one, 10 other people have the same. You can even chat it out and I'll read it out loud if you don't want to talk. Oh, Pamela, you asked what the name of the book is. Look at, did you see me go look for it again? Pam, would you mind typing that in or unmuting and telling us? While she's typing that, Patty will answer your question. You asked, do you do AFT or emotion code, wondering what emotional work I do with others? Oh, thank you. Essential Oils Integrative Medical Guide. Thank you so much, Pam. So I am an AFT practitioner. I do have that certification, and that's how I dove into helping other people with emotional releasing. AFT works beautifully, except for the people that I work, that I coach with. It's not that it didn't work with them. It's just, you know how you attract your people that you're supposed to work with? I attracted a lot of people with some serious trauma. And so AFT, just a 1 or 2 session, was a little tricky. It tended to open up Pandora's box. We were doing, for the most part, I ended up doing more of the trauma portion where it was, I called it reverse AFT. That's not what Dr. Perkis says. You're welcome, Jen. Thanks for hopping on. Dr. Perkis, he doesn't call it that, but it's the one where you, if you know the memory, the traumatic memory, and you can work backwards through it. I found I was doing that a lot more with people than a typical AFT session. And so as I looked at that, I thought, okay, those are just the people that I met. And now knowing where I live in Boston and dealing and healing a city that has had such severe trauma. It's AFT. It's like it just scratches the surface, right? We kind of got to dig deep. So I got my life coaching certification, able to dive in and ask more pointed questions. And so the emotion work that I do is it's a class that I wrote based off of that idea, but then expanded with my coaching questions and affirmations. I guess I didn't mention too when I talked to you guys about doing your affirmations. If you're not somebody who does affirmations, know this, they're so critical. Basically, it's like lifting weights for your brain. So how we lift weights for our muscles, and it sharpens us, it makes us stronger. Same thing with affirmations. It just strengthens and steadies your brain. So as I say, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm confident, whatever your affirmation, I'm just using some light ones, right? It helps my brain believe that. Yes, Sherry, AFT opens the door to the pathway for the deeper work that we do. Absolutely. I mean, an AFT is so great. It's such a gentle dive. But for me, I guess it's just me. It is just me that I think about it. I'm like, I'm that hairdresser. If you ever let me cut your hair, I'm that hairdresser that you'd sit in my chair and within 10 minutes, I would know your entire life story. Truly, it's just what I do. So I think that's the challenge, is I probably didn't stick to task too. So my book is called Essentially Free. You can find it on my website, which is weirtexas.com. Kathy was so sweet the other day. She's like, Jen won't promote herself. I'm like, that's a true story. I don't want to capitalize on everybody's trials and struggles, except for I know I have the answers. So there's that. Maria, you're asking, what was it that you did to help address trauma backwards? Whose approach? So that was Dr. Perkis's. In his AFT book, there's the AFT, the 12 steps. I'm looking, I don't have it over here. It's going to look. But then there's the process where, Kathy, if you remember, anybody else who's a certified, but the step, right, where you start off with the memory, you already know the memory, and then you work backwards. You breathe it all in, you surround yourself with every vivid memory, everything you can. Traumatic memory release. Thank you, Sherry. Why was that so hard for me to remember? There it is. Traumatic memory release technique. Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And it's great. I mean, I have people who are really nervous to dive into deeper emotional stuff. They just don't want to relive. But one thing that I can tell you, if any of you are wanting to dive into emotional healing, but you're a little nervous for the same reason, I don't want to open Pandora's box. It's really not that. It's a gentle, like what we do in our class, how I work with people, and even when I coach, it's a gentle process. It's not like, whoosh, we're going to rip off the Band-Aid. We talk about affirmations. We use cedarwood a lot, right, Pamela? I mean, I swear you just need 20 bottles of it. We're constantly with the cedar wood because it helps your brain, and we all now love it so much, right? Some people thought it smelled like cat pee. Now we're all just diving into the bottle. It's just amazing. And we rewrite our story. We delve into PTSD a little bit just to say, hey, you might be struggling with this. And if you are, it's okay. But here's how you can heal from it. We spend so much time on healing and growing from it, and not picking at a scab. I'm not a huge fan of picking at the scab, which, please forgive me if anyone's a therapist or goes to therapy, and I was in therapy, but I do think therapy tends to pick at the scab because we just keep talking about our stuff rather than healing from it. I think there's a general belief in our culture that you can never get healed from abuse, from all these things, and yet I've seen women be healed and actually thriving, and it can bring me to tears in a moment when I start thinking about it. Pam, it actually starts tomorrow. The Essentially Free class, the new session. We do it now every 7 weeks, so we'll start this tomorrow, and then the next one I believe is June, that first or second week of June. This particular session is focusing on emotional healing, and also I will be talking a lot about just dripping in what we're going through now in our culture, how to heal in the middle of what we're going through. Because I'm going to tell you, like I was telling the girls the other night, I don't know why it just now occurred to me, hey, maybe people actually need to know how to thrive while they're in this. So there's that. Janice said it's given you tools to deal with all the crap that I have not been as successful dealing with in the past. Yes. Yeah, for real, right? And the cool thing is, I think the best part about it is the community that we have in our group. It's turned into over, what have we done this almost a year and a half now? It's a beautiful little, just a safe space. And in our time right now when social media, I'm telling you that my phone is not safe for me right now. At least we have one group that we can come in and learn something good and take it and do the work at home. And that, Allie, you're asking, how do we promote or send it to people we think are in need? That's funny. It's kind of like sending somebody a treadmill, right, for their birthday. You can go on the website and just send them the link. But yeah, they probably need to do it ASAP, because I'll shut it down tomorrow, any new registries, because I want it to be fair for everybody who's jumping in. Is there still room? Yes, there is still room. Yeah, this group, in fact, this time, it's funny, we have a much smaller group, and I was telling the girls, I'm like, I've kept it, I haven't been promoting it because I feel like the people who are meant to be in there will come in. It's just, I'm very protective of it. So if you are feeling like, yeah, this might be something, then I would hop in. That might mean that you're ready. But if you're like, nah, I'm not, then this is not your time. And I would ask that you wait until next time, because we do have just a sweet group there. Yeah, you work at your own pace. Oh my gosh, I'm just going to say that, and then I promise I'll let you all go. If you think you want to do this with us, it's Pamela, Janice, Sarah, you guys all know, I'm constantly saying you're never behind. I have people message me, I'm sorry, I'm so behind. You're not behind. This is why I encourage people to take it more than once. There's never a behind. You're at your pace where you need to be. Some people invest just the entire time on the growing from trauma portion. Some do just the affirmations. Some just need to learn how to rewrite their own stories and all the journal prompting. So you're totally at your own pace. It's your group. You do with it what you want. I just have the information there, and you do with it what you want. So, okay, as soon as this, we pause this, actually, I'll just be done with that.